Hey, what's up? It's been a while since I posted. I just wanted to come on, kind of have a casual chat today and talk all about why I took a step away from vlogging for a while, why that's okay, and why I'm back now. So first and foremost, why I took a step back, that is a long story, but the short version is I just had to kind of put my mental health first. I've had a experience with my mental health like throughout my lifetime. The first time I ever think I felt depression, I was 8 years old, and at the time I didn't have a word for it. I was very confused about what I was feeling, and it wasn't until I was depressed in college that I realized what it was. I remember being like a little kid in my brother's room sobbing on his bed, partially because I was so sad and so distraught, but mostly because I had no clue why I was feeling that way. Depression in my world didn't exist yet. I'd never heard of that. I think I'm just kind of prone to it. I've always been a very sensitive person. I think like anyone who knows me knows you can make me cry by showing me anything that's happy, sad, cute, romantic. Like I cry all the time. Just very sensitive and emotional, and so I think that might have made me more susceptible, more prone to like falling into depression. But my first really terrible experience with depression was in college. And it was kind of a domino effect leading up to that. My freshman year of college, my dad was sick in the hospital for a good chunk of time. When I think I already said I was a freshman, and it happened abruptly. I was right before midterms, and he was supposed to have like a normal little wrist surgery, and things went wrong. His heart stopped. And since I was away at school, my family didn't want to scare me, so I wasn't getting the real story, but I was, when people are lying to you, like the people you know really well, I knew what they said wasn't true, so I thought something like really, really, really bad happened. I thought maybe my dad had passed away or something because my family was acting so weird, and it ended up, like, he ended up being fine. He had surgery. He's doing good now. It's been like 5 years. But that led to a lot of anxiety for me. I used to always have this nightmare that I was like at my wedding day and I was running around, and it was in a church. I don't even think I want to get married in a church when I do get married, but it was at a church. I was running around this church looking for my dad, and I couldn't find him, and it was like time for me to walk down the aisle, and I get there, my grandpa's waiting there for me to walk me down the aisle, and like, because I think I was so afraid of losing my dad, so it just like manifested into that dream. But I had that throughout college, and I had a lot of anxiety that something terrible was going to happen to my entire family while I was there. My brother was at a local like college because he went away for school, and for his senior year he transferred to like the local chapter of that school. So they all lived at home together, and I'd have dreams that like I got back and my house was like burnt down and I couldn't find my family anywhere. I just had a lot of anxiety about bad things happening to the people I loved, and that never went away in college. And like even that wasn't like the depression I want to get to. And then my junior year, my depression kind of came in full swing, like really, really bad, unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I knew I had to make a change once I finally decided to acknowledge what I was feeling wasn't normal and that I couldn't continue living that way. So I took time off school, and that was like exactly what I needed. I say I took time off. At the time, that's what I intended, but few years later, like, I've come to terms with the fact I dropped out. And a few months later, I actually moved to New York City, which probably wasn't like emotionally, like mentally the smartest decision, but it turned out being what I needed. I moved there for an internship, and I now work for that company full-time, remote, so I'm back home in Illinois. I love New York City, I didn't love living there. So I'm back home in Illinois, and my depression comes and goes. I think, okay, so people who've never experienced depression, the way it works for me and how I try to explain it is it's always there, but sometimes it's just dormant. I think that like depression has taught me or shown me how bad I can feel and like my new lowest low, if that makes sense. So before, when I was feeling down or bad, I was just kind of sad, but now it's very easy for me to go like way low. So this always happens in the winter, like when it gets like really bad. It's called seasonal affective disorder, and it's just like when your depression is triggered by time of the year, and for most people it is the winter, and it has a lot to do with the chemical makeup of your body and the fact we're not getting as much sunlight. I've actually like loosely am looking into maybe trying to sublet somewhere like in Florida or something for 2 months next winter, for January and February, so those are usually my 2 worst months. This winter, I felt myself getting kind of how I did before I left school, which is the worst my depression has ever been. And for a long time, I was just trying to kind of like roll with it, like it's fine, I'm just gonna chug along. And then I was feeling more and more hopeless. I was feeling more and more like alone, which I live alone, but I always have people over, so it's not, when I say alone, it's a different type of alone. It's not like the absence of people, it's just like the isolation. I know it's hard to explain. Doing good now, and so like I can really easily talk about my depression when I'm not in it. If I were feeling bad, I'd be like sobbing right now. But so I try to like talk to my boyfriend about it, to my friends, and like explain, but it's always hard to find the words. It's all just like a feeling. But yeah, so I was feeling just like hopeless, alone. I didn't like myself. I didn't like where my life was. I was looking at all of the things my friends were doing and thinking maybe I chose the wrong path for myself, which no matter what, I'd be feeling that no matter what path I chose. It's just the depression speaking, not my real mind. I have a lot of, okay, people make fun of the word triggers, but it is like a real psychological thing. Triggers, in addition to depression, this year I had a new fun twist thrown in where I began to get anxiety attacks, which before this I'd only ever gotten one anxiety attack in my entire life, and I didn't even know what it was at the time. But now I've gotten, since January, probably a dozen. I haven't gotten any for a few weeks, so I think I'm hoping like this new spring weather that's finally decided to come out and play is fighting that off. But yeah, I was having a lot of anxiety attacks, and for me, like, it's where I can't breathe. It feels a lot like an asthma attack. That's what I thought it was. I mentioned I had one before. I had one my senior year of high school. That's like a whole other story, but my senior year was interesting, and there was a kid in my class who kind of made a game out of tormenting me. And there's like a particular day where things were pretty bad, and I had an anxiety attack, and I thought it was an asthma attack until I started having them now. Because it doesn't feel exactly like an asthma attack, but it's similar enough that I was like, okay, that's probably just what it was. But yeah, so I've been having anxiety attacks. There are a few like definite triggers, and the biggest one has been my email inbox. Any blogger knows that you get so many emails as a blogger, and it's wonderful. It's great to connect with people. It's great to connect with businesses, but it can be vastly overwhelming. There are some days where you get like 50 emails that need to be responded to, and I'm not even a big time blogger, so I can't imagine what like the big names are dealing with. I know they hire teams to handle their inboxes. For some reason, I was getting panic attacks like typing in Gmail, and like even now, like there are days I don't check my email at all, which is really bad. And it was kind of pushing over to my work email, where like in the morning I'd have to force myself, like before I got started working, I'd wake up early, like at 7, wake up early so I could check my email at 7. That way, if it did trigger a panic attack, I could have like calmed down by the time work started. The work one never really did trigger it, but it's just like, it sounds stupid for anyone who's like never dealt with this. Like how such a random stupid thing can like trigger panic attacks, but my inbox was doing it. And the second thing were my blog comments. It was late February or early March. A few of my blog posts randomly went viral on Pinterest, which is always, usually, I mean, pretty good news. And I was getting about 10,000 page views from Pinterest, like alone on these blog posts every day. And that meant an influx of comments. And I'm lucky I don't get many hate comments. I feel like I'm not the most controversial blogger in the world. I was probably getting a dozen, which isn't even a lot, of mean comments every day. And so then I started having anxiety attacks opening my blog, which I hate because I feel like these keyboard warriors took that away from me. Yeah, so I was like, I need to figure out how to make these stop happening because it's humiliating. First of all, I had a few in front of people, one in front of my friend, a few in front of my boyfriend, and he's like, great. Ooh, the light's moving. But like, he understands that I've got some issues and I do the best I can with them, and he helps me. So it's not like anything like I'm like, oh, he's gonna leave me if like he sees these embarrassing panic attacks. But it's still embarrassing, like, to not have control over yourself. And it's kind of like I'm already feeling a bit of embarrassment, like the idea of putting this out into the world, because I know, first of all, YouTube is where I get the most mean comments, and second of all, if people haven't experienced depression and anxiety, it can be really hard to understand. Like, when a lot of it sounds stupid. There's no other word to use except it just sounds like, well, don't do that, like, don't feel that way. And I'm guilty. I've thought that before, like hearing people talk about their struggles with anxiety before I felt that. I remember in high school, I had a friend who had pretty bad anxiety, and like hearing her talk about it, like, this is so mean for me to say. I was like a stupid 15-year-old, but I was like, you know, I didn't say this, I thought this. Outwardly, I was very supportive, but I just felt like she was being so dramatic and like attention seeking. And I am like, this is karma for thinking that, because it's hard to explain and it's hard for people to understand. But so yeah, that is why I took that step away from vlogging. And I mean, I do think it's fine that I did that. I'm not proud of it or like happy that I did, because I know I hurt like future income opportunities. I hurt my brand. It's gonna be like hard to like get back to the place I was at before I took my little hiatus. But I think it was exactly what I needed to do so I could get my mental health in order, because that's, I mean, really important. Because if I didn't take this break now, I think I would have had a breakdown in the future and probably would have had to been away from the blog for even longer. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, even if it's doesn't feel like the right thing to do. So yeah, but I am back. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling better. Got fresh air, sunshine. I've been spending so much time outside, hiking, going to the forest. It's actually a park, but it feels like a forest. So yeah, I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad to have summer around the corner, and I'm glad for all of you guys who are watching this. I've been getting a lot of nice messages from people asking when I'd be back, and it means a lot, so thank you. And this time, for real, I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!